Hello, today we will be covering the MRT skill of effective praise and active constructive responding. The MRT competency effective praise and active constructive responding is designed to encourage praise towards mastery and winning streaks. It teaches you to respond to others with authentic, active, and constructive interest to build strong relationships. Effective praise and active constructive responding help to build connection. Effective praise identifies what the person did that brought about the positive outcome. The way you respond when someone shares a positive experience with you will affect the strength of that relationship. Effective criticism names the process, strategy, or behavior that led to the problem and how to correct it. Effective praise names the specific strategy, effort, or skill that led to the good outcome. When someone we care about succeeds or does well, we often say things like, "Good job, way to go, thumbs up." But in so doing, we often skip the process, strategy, and behavior that led to the good outcome. This type of praise does not communicate how the person brought about the positive outcome, therefore, it lacks the information that will enable them to replicate it. Effective praise is meant to teach the person how they brought about the positive outcome so that they can replicate it in the future. Effective praise builds strong relationships and promotes winning streaks. Effective praise is used when a person does something that earns your praise. Active constructive responding is a style of communication that you can use when someone shares good news or a positive experience with you. There are four ways that people tend to respond when others share good news. Only one of the four styles leads to stronger relationships. As I describe all four styles over the next few slides, think about which is the most common. Positive experiences can be big or small. Only the individual initiating communication, the one sharing the good news, can determine the meaning associated with the positive experience. Active constructive responding is like hunting the good stuff with someone else. In each of these cells, we will note the key descriptors of each style. In passive constructive responding, we see the conversation killer. This is demonstrated by the listener appearing distracted, which understates their support to the person sharing a positive event. This ultimately causes the conversation to fizzle out. In passive destructive responding, we see the conversation hijacker. The listener ignores the event and often changes the conversation to another topic. In active destructive responding, we see the joy thief. This is categorized by the listener squashing the event or focusing on only negatives that might have existed within the event. Active destructive is being pessimistic and negative about another person's good news. Finally, active constructive responding, or the joy multiplier, is characterized by the listener having authentic interest and elaborating on the experience. The key word in the box is authentic. It's not cheerleading. It's about helping the other person relive the positive event. ACR helps you to linger over the good experience a little longer. It is important to regulate your response based on the situation and needs of the other person. For example, if the person who shares good news is modest, offering lots of praise might embarrass him or her or shut them down. ACR is the only style of responding that builds strong relationships. On this slide, I will attempt to answer some of the ACR fact questions. In response to the first bullet point, ACR is about authentic interest in the person, not necessarily the news. ACR can be easier if you're interested in the news, but authentic interest in the person is what's most important. Even when we care about the other person, we often fail to be active and constructive in how we respond. It might be hard for some people because sharing in another person's joy can make us feel vulnerable or uncomfortable. In response to the second bullet point, ACR should not be used if the good news is dangerous for the person or others. An example of this would be if your friend plans to take a new motorcycle on a dangerous road after drinking a few beers. Danger always trumps ACR. In response to the third bullet point, if there are concerns about the news, but the news is not dangerous, ACR can be used first, and concerns can be addressed in a later conversation. Utilizing this strategy, the relationship can be strengthened and concerns can also be addressed. In response to the fourth bullet point, the sharer of the good news is responsible for being sensitive to the right time, place, or person to share his or her good news with. Even when the sharer shares the news imperfectly, an example would be like at the wrong time, wrong place, we can choose to rise to the occasion and still continue to respond actively and constructively. We often let ourselves off the hook, that is, we do not hold ourselves accountable for being active and constructive, and because of this, our relationships suffer. As you review the key principles on the slide, it's important to remember that effective praise and ACR are meant to help build the MRT competency of connection. Using ACR doesn't mean you can't bring up concerns. Concerns might be valid, but ask yourself if you should share them immediately or in a later conversation. What is the skill? Effective praise focuses on the strategy, behavior, or process that brought the good outcome. Active constructive responding is a method of communication in which the responder conveys authentic interest and helps the person to relive the positive experience. When do you use it? Use effective praise when you want to build motivation and performance, and use ACR when someone shares a positive experience with you. How do I use it? When giving effective praise, name the behavior, strategy, or process. Respond to positive experiences by conveying interest and by asking questions. Connection is the primary target of effective praise and ACR. This concludes the lesson.